You're listening to Investify, preaching financial independence and assisting investors to achieve a more flexible and free lifestyle through smart financial planning and real estate investing. If leaving the corporate world and jumping into this thriving industry is what you desire, tune in and listen to stories of like-minded individuals who made the leap to financial independence. Equip yourself with the right tips and tricks to start your real estate journey, making active or passive ventures that are highly profitable and rewarding. Here are your hosts, Craig Curelop and Zeona McIntyre.
What's going on, everyone? You are listening to Investify. My name is Craig Curelop, aka the Fi Guy, and I'm here with my co-host Zeona McIntyre, aka Z Money. How you doing today, Z?
I'm doing great. And I'm wondering, where in the world is Craigie today? Because I know you to not have any art on your walls, unless this is a new change for your new house, but you've got a cool piece of art back there. And I just don't know
Look
if your
at
taste is
that.
that good.
It's definitely not that good, and you can probably guess where I am because it's where you were last week, Mr. Michael Brockway's house, so we'll give him a shout out.
Woo!
Yeah. And Z, I've got to ask, what is up with your eyelashes today? Is that why your eyes are so heavy?
I don't know what you're referring to about my eyes being heavy. Maybe because I'm tired. Is that what you're trying to say, Craig? Are you trying to not say that I
Yeah.
look freaking beautiful? People, you should try to find this video because I look great today. I look dragalicious great. So the story behind my eyelashes is I just came from Miami. I met my baby sister. I have a baby sister who is 16 years younger than me. She's a half sister. And we met in Miami. I was doing some work down there and I just made it like a fun work and play trip. But she does lashes and she does lashes in Atlanta. She's a little bit hood. And so these are real big. These were her smallest lashes that she had, and they are ginormous. So you know what? I'm here for the costume. I'm enjoying it. I'm embracing.
You're enjoying it? All right.
Yeah.
As long as you love it, Z, that's all that matters. Personally, I like you all natural. I like you all natural, but that's just my taste. So anyway, speaking of all natural, we've got an amazing guest today, Casey Franchini. You're brick
right.
by brick wealth. She's Zucchini Franchini. She literally tells us in the episode how to pronounce her name, and we still can't figure it out. But really, really cool episode. There's a lot of big takeaways. Like, definitely listen for the story about her father, who was a failed entrepreneur, which you don't hear too many people talk about. And that actually inspired her to really become a successful entrepreneur. And she's doing rental properties kind of in an unconventional way, right? And you'll hear that in the episode. But I just think it's a different perspective from what many other guests have had. So definitely listen through to the whole thing. I think it's a really cool story.
Yep, lots of little nuggets in there. I like that she brings in a whole spiritual aspect, and I like that she challenges us on some of our ideas of, paying off properties when we're really into leverage and just putting 20% down and all these very conservative things that are not what you normally hear out there. So yeah, I think it's great for people to know that there's a range and you can make it work for you. And it's just good to find something that makes you feel comfortable.
I love it. Let's bring her on.
Casey, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I am doing good. Thank you so much for having me on. I have been so excited over the past couple of weeks to be here today.
Yeah, well, we are so excited to have you. Zeona is just chomping at the bits to say something. So, yeah.
Oh my God, I just want to call Craig out. So if you've ever listened to our show, Craig only says the first name when he doesn't know how to pronounce the last name. And so you stumped him. Tell everybody your last name, Casey.
It's Franchini, like zucchini.
Zucchini. Ooh. And I totally would have said Franchini. So I totally.
That's why I do like the Franchini zucchini thing. I even teach my kids to tell the teachers it's Franchini zucchini. They can do that.
Franchini zucchini. I love that. Yeah. So you've definitely you caught me red-handed, Z. I guess you know me too well.
Yes.
So Casey Franchini Franchini. Tell us, when and where did you first hear about financial independence?
Well, so I've first heard about it my whole life because my dad's nuts like that. But he never created financial independence for himself. And so I first really actually heard about it and started paying attention when we moved to Memphis, September 2013.
Okay, so you're a vet. You're old school financial independence. September 2013. So
I
where
knew I
like
didn't want to work my whole life.
yeah, amen to that. So what happened in September 2013?
We moved to Memphis that month, and that was the month that started our journey.
Okay. Well, I'm really curious because it's like your dad knew about it this whole time. And so what kept him from being able to actually achieve it? Because I think for most people, they just don't even know that it's possible.
I know, limiting beliefs. And my dad tried so hard as an entrepreneur doing all sorts of different things. And he, I love my dad like so much. He just didn't make it. He tried so hard, all these different things, entrepreneurial spirit, telling me things like, Casey, do you see all the cars, see the traffic? When I lived in SoCal, see all the traffic going that one direction? You want to be going the other direction. You have to do something different. Can't follow, don't go with the herd of cows, like be different, go the other direction. And he would say things like that to me my whole life. And I always saw him trying so hard. And I feel like, honestly, that's a little bit of my limiting beliefs with things in my life, is that I'm not going to be able to make it like he didn't, so that's a hurdle of mine.
What were some of the things that he tried and failed?
He had many startup businesses, starting new businesses, wastewater treatment plants, and so many. I mean, that was the main one that I remembered. It just didn't work out, and I was really young at the time. I was, barely double digits, like 10, 11, even younger. And so that kind of journey of his, that kind of dream kind of died. And like, as I was getting older, he would say, I hope he doesn't listen to this. He would say things, like, Casey, you're going to have to pay for us one day, or you're going to have to, take care of us one day, like already kind of giving up, because he was getting older and that sort of thing. And I'm like, don't count on me yet, Dad. Like, I'm 18. You're like, I don't know, how much money I'm going to make and stuff like that. But I always knew that, I wanted to be different, and I didn't want to have a full-time job and just rely on, an employer to pay for me. And I didn't want to have to ask for vacation. And, I went to school, I got my degree, I wanted to be in public relations. I got my first job in PR in Newport Beach, and I would drive an hour and a half there and an hour and a half home and be in the dark. And I was like, God, is this really the life? This can't be it. And then, also thinking, I also don't want to be like my dad. If I try something on my own and I fail, like I'm a failure, and then I have nothing. So which is better, do the 9-to-5 job or risk it and try something on my own? But what if I don't have the guts for that? What if I don't this? What if I don't that? And, that's still something that I feel like I struggle with the things that I'm doing in my life to reach financial independence.
I think it's so crucial. The way you were raised, those first 18 years really like sets the tone for the rest of your life. And it seems like, Casey, what your dad did is actually super dissimilar to almost everybody else, right? You hear the story of work the 9-to-5, do what I did, get a steady job, make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year and provide for your family. But your dad like took those risks. Can I ask was your mom, was your mom around, or what did she do?
The family. Yeah, she was a nurse. She was a nurse, and then she went to nurse educate. She was a nurse. So she was a nurse first, and then she got her master's and moved up into nurse education. So she was a hospital nurse educator. So she would teach all the other nurses in the hospital, like keep them up to date on their trainings and that sort of thing. So she was the moneymaker. And she, where she did support my dad, in his dreams, she was also, on the other hand, like, you need to get a steady job. This isn't working what he's doing. You need to be like me. And so it's like I'm hearing on both sides of the fence what to do, and it's hard to choose.
Yeah. Well, I think that just shows how much of it, like a great team it seems like your parents were, although it sounds like there probably was a little bit of bickering and stuff, but what relationship doesn't have that? I think one factor that I noticed that every entrepreneur has, especially in today's age, maybe not 30 years ago or so when your dad was in his prime, is the education piece, right? And so did you ever see your dad learning? Did you ever see your dad reading? Or was he just out there doing and just trial by fire?
He was reading a lot of I can't remember all the titles, but a lot of the early mindset books I have, and they're from him, and they're they're old school books. I mean, the pages are crumbly, and he was always about mindset and, the spiritual side of things and all that stuff that I really wish he would have kind of pounded into me a little bit more. Maybe he thought I would think the spiritual side of life is weird, but I'm really into that stuff now. And I do wish that, I mean, he's not dead or anything, I can ask him, but I do wish that, he could have talked to me a little bit more about that. And so maybe that could have helped me get out of my own way.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm hounding the point about your childhood here, but I just think it's so intriguing. Like where do you think your dad failed? Right? Like if you had to point it to one thing so that if you do something differently, what is that one thing? Like, why are you successful versus
gave up.
He just gave up
right before he made it. You try so hard, and then I mean, I was little, so when he kind of gave up on himself, he did other things, as I got older, but it was not with the same passion that he had when I was younger, with the same hope and desire and grit that I saw him have. And I'm sure the family thing, the tension probably, my mom and dad are still married, but I think probably the tension between them, my mom was carrying everyone with financially, and my dad was spending money and trying this business and that business and, almost making it. And I remember at one point it was really hard. My mom was not happy with it. It's us or the business, And I think my dad made a decision and said, okay, fine, I pick family. I think that was kind of, in my memory, that was kind of the point where he kind of gave up. But, my mom was very supportive, and I'm lucky I have a supporting husband too. And he's just like my dad in a lot of ways, not the entrepreneurial way, but other ways. But I feel like, having my dad with that backbone and the whole, you can do it, is really important. I do feel like he gave up right before he was going to make it. And, everyone's got limiting beliefs. And I feel like he blamed others for his failures, and I do the same thing. And so that's hard to get out of.
I really resonate with your story. It's my father was a serial entrepreneur, and I don't feel like he ever really made it. He had his little small sparks, but I remember kind of being drilled into me this idea of if you go to college, that's failure. And I remember when I went to college, I felt so guilty, just I'm not making it. But yeah, I just love how that spirit has transcended through. So I just like hearing your story. But I think we should move on. What happened in 2013 and what kind of sparked you to do something different?
So we moved to Memphis from Southern California in 2013, September 13th, 2013, on my mother-in-law's birthday. And we moved from California. I was a real estate agent in California, and I helped flippers find deals. So I was like a bird dog, but I found the deals on the MLS. So I would find good flip opportunities. But I didn't know anyone who did rental properties out there. The closest person I knew that invested in rentals was my friend Mikey's grandma, who he said she owned 10 properties. That was the extent of knowledge I had of anyone that owned real estate. And this was, 2010, 11, 12, 13. So there wasn't hardly even social media. I remember Facebook was kind of new. So there wasn't a lot of investing out of state going on, or no knowledge really on investing out of state. So I tried to buy some properties in California. It didn't work out really because I wasn't taking the leap, because it was a big financial commitment and I didn't have anyone to help me or tell me I was doing it right or wrong. So we never really went through on those. But when we moved to Memphis, I was like, okay, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to fail. I'm going to do this. I'm going to not be, I can only think of bad words at the moment. So I'm going to be successful. There is no other option. And we moved here with a cat, a 2-year-old, I had a 3-week-old baby, and we didn't know anybody. We moved here for my husband's job. Didn't know a soul. And we bought a fixer-upper. That's what I was used to. I lived in a fixer my whole life. My dad was always fixing up houses, or our house, which seemed like 100 houses. But we fixed up this house, and my husband said, Casey, if you want to buy a rental property, you're going to have to figure out how to pay for it. And I'm like, I didn't move all the way to Memphis to get a job, that. That was the whole point. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm going to figure this out another way. And so I started an Etsy business selling little crafts, handmade, personalized items. You guys have probably seen like people make t-shirts and tumbler cups and that sort of thing. So I started off doing that. And in a year and a half, I saved $20,000. And we used that for our first down payment for our first rental.
Okay, wow. So lots to unpack there, but you went from California, high cost of living, Memphis, lower cost of living at least. And your intention with this Etsy business, was it to just save money, or did you actually enjoy, love, and want to actually have like a career making cups and t-shirts?
So when I moved here, I was depressed. You know, I didn't know I knew I was depressed, but I didn't know I was depressed until like a bit later. Because I left my family. I left my friends. I had a 3-week-old baby and a 2-year-old. And my mom and dad were like, you might as well be dead because you're really far away. Like, we're never going to see you, you know? And that was really hard on me to leave everybody that I knew and raise kids all by myself. And, you know, my husband was drive to work and back. And so I didn't know anyone, had no friends. So I was depressed. And the first thing was I need something to make me happy. I need to do something because I'm just sitting at home all day, and while being a stay-at-home mom is great, it's not the fulfilling life I need to be. That entrepreneurial thing was nagging me that I was a failure because I'm not what my dad wanted me to be. I'm not a success. You know, I'm a failure. I'm a failure. And that's what I would say. I'm a loser. I'm a loser. I would say that to myself, you know, and it's like, I've got to do something. And I don't want to be a real estate agent again. I didn't really enjoy it all that much, driving around, you know, hundreds of miles looking for properties. Like, I liked the property part, but anyway, I didn't really want to do that again out here. So I thought, well, what can I do that's fun, that I enjoy? And I love crafts. What girl doesn't like glitter and a hot glue gun, right? I mean, I do. So what can I do that's fun that I can make money at? And I'm also not very creative. So I thought, well, I can't make designs. Like, I can't draw. I can draw a stick figure, and I can probably draw a stick figure swing set and a house with a tree. And like, you know, that's kind of what I would draw when I had a piece of white paper and a pencil. So that's the most of my creative abilities on that. So I bought a Cricut machine, one of those die cutters, like a Silhouette, and I started making those things, and it was fun, but and I enjoyed it. But you know, when you do the same thing over and over again, it can get a little boring. And I was like, you know, this is fun, but I'm selling things for like $5 and $10. You know, my time is worth more than this. And so that's when I started to think a little bit bigger. And I knew I was saving for my down payment for my property, you know, because that was the only way I was going to get one. But I needed to think bigger, and making $5 items all day wasn't going to cut it.
Yeah. So why real estate? I mean, I know that you had a little bit of experience and you saw people doing flips, and so you knew there was money there, but why rental properties?
My dad always said that's the fastest way to build wealth. Own real estate. It's just real expensive in California. And, you know, their house in California, they bought with a VA loan. And I mean, I don't know how much they made when they sold it, but they bought it for 100,000. I guess I could think about it. They bought it for like 100,000, and they sold it for 700 when they left and moved to Mexico. But that's another story.
The for real deal.
Casey, the For Real Deal is your first deal you've ever done, making you a true real estate investor. Sounds like it was in Memphis, Tennessee. Tell us a little bit more about it. What was it? How much did you purchase for? What kind of loan? All the goody goods.
Absolutely. So we were scared, you know, it was our first deal. And even though I had real estate experience being an agent in California, it's always just different when it's your own money. Different. And since I worked so hard with my Etsy shop years to save up for this down payment, I really wanted to make sure I didn't make a mistake and I didn't buy a property that, you know, wasn't going to rent at what I thought and was in a good area. Because if anyone's been to Memphis, it's one of the highest crime rates in the nation. And some areas, like, you just don't drive through, let alone walk through. So the first property was in a B-class neighborhood. We bought it in 2016 for $92,500. And we're risk adverse, and we're like, we don't want to pay any extra fees, you know, like I don't keep credit card balances and that. So I didn't want any PMI, which, I mean, doesn't really matter when it's an investor loan, there's no choice anyways. But so we put 20% down, and we opted for the 20-year loan, I think, because at the time it wasn't a big difference in interest rate from the 20 to the 30. Like now I wouldn't do that even if the rate was better. But then, it was our first one and we thought, oh, well, we'll just pay it off sooner and it's not a big deal.
Why would you not pick the 20 or the 30? Or like if you had the option now, like is it something?
Well,
Yeah.
Like today, the rates really aren't that big of a difference. It's not even
So
really
if
better.
the rates are the same, would you say go 30 or go 20?
I would go 30 because I want a higher cash flow. If I went 20 years, my payment would be higher. And I'm looking for, appreciation too, but I'm looking for cash flow. So I would want the cash flow.
Yeah, extend that puppy out. The longer the loan, the better. I'm with you there.
Exactly. I've heard of 40-year loans though, and I'm like, where are those at? I mean, I don't think I'd want one. I mean, come on, that's pushing it. But so we did a 20-year loan on that one, and our payment, so our principal, interest, taxes, insurance. Remember, a 20-year loan, so it's a little bit more. Was $600. Well, it still is $618 a month. And when we first bought it, it needed some work, but it was more of a just like a cosmetic fixer. I didn't want to get into anything too deep, even though Blake and I had rehabbed a couple of houses before. We rehabbed the one we lived in California, and we rehabbed the one at another house out here that my mother-in-law ended up buying. We redid the whole thing for her. So we know what we're doing. We knew how to do it. We've definitely had more experience since then. But we didn't want to get into anything too difficult or overwhelming. Again, we have 2 small kids. He works full time. And, whereas I can help and do things, I'm really not the main one doing the rehab. So he is. So we bought one that needed just a little bit of work. We painted the interior. The floors were hardwood. They were great. We scraped the ceilings, which I wouldn't do that now. I don't advise anyone to really scrape ceilings unless it's going to make a big difference. So it was like, we did something like stupid like that. Like we scraped the ceilings and we didn't need to do that. Yeah.
How much did you put into the rehab total?
At first, we've had this property for a few years now. So at first it's probably, maybe $2,000. You need a few 5 gallons of paint. I did some landscaping, and we put in a new toilet and things like that. So that can add up, even though we did it all ourselves. But now since then, we had a tree fall in the house. So we had to get it during the storm. So we had to get a new roof, and that was about $3,500. This property is actually up for rent again. We're in a turnover with this property. And we put in also new air conditioner since then, and we've updated the kitchen as well.
Okay, the whole tree thing on the roof. Does the insurance not cover that?
They did cover it, but they didn't cover everything. Since the tree fell on the roof, they would pay for the roof, but they did not pay for like the tree. So we had to get tree removal, which was a very large tree. And also there was some damage on the inside that they weren't going to cover. So we did some of that ourselves, but they did pay for the roof. Yeah.
Wow. Insurance companies
Scam.
are such like scoundrels. the whole thing is the tree's fault. Yeah. Oh, okay. We won't go down that rabbit hole, but.
And I was out of town too. I was in California for a wedding, and Blake was supposed to fly out the next day, and it was a big storm. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm trying to deal with this claim while I'm in California for my friend's wedding.
It's always when you're out of town. That's what I've noticed. Like I had my first property that I bought. My dad and I were in New York celebrating something. I don't know. We were at a Red Sox Yankees game though. And I get a call from my tenant at the time saying that the basement was flooding and the sewer had backed up, and it was just flooded with you can imagine what sewer backup is like. And I was like, no, I was so stressed out. And it's like always when you're away. So that house, what did you rent that house out for when it was all said and done?
So initially our first tenant was running it for $1,075. So $1,075 a month. Great tenants. Okay. One of them was in the military. Another one was like a manager for Panera Bread. So good, high quality tenants. We do 2-year leases. So, but since he was in the military, he got transferred. So they were almost at the end of their 2 years and they had to move out. But that was initially, it was $1,075 for the first tenant.
Why do you do 2 years?
Because turnovers cost a lot. You're always having to clean something. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a couple of weeks at least of vacancy. You might have to paint or fill holes from TV mounts, or maybe this is the time to upgrade since it's vacant. And when you're a landlord and you're not a property management company, you do all that stuff yourself. And vacancies can cost, they that's time. That's a month maybe or 2 weeks that you're not. And plus the energy that it takes to show it and list it and take calls. So I want people that want to stay forever. And if people already say they're only going to be there for a year, then they're not for me. Like, I don't want to be turning over a place every year. This isn't an apartment. This is a house. And if your plan already is to move out in a year, no thanks. So if they can at least agree to 2 years, it's like, okay, so you plan on being here for a while. And most of my tenants stay for at least 3 years.
Wow. That's an interesting take. I've never heard that before. So, and so like, is that 1,075, is that market rate? Because, most leases are 1-year leases, or do you have to charge, or are you able to charge more or less based on the 2 years?
So I leave it market rate because it's still got to be competitive. Everyone's still searching on Zillow or wherever to find a place for rent. So I still have to compete with regular prices. So, but I do offer, sometimes, depending on the property, I'll offer an incentive if they pay early. And early means before the first. So I'll give them like $25 off rent if they can pay before the first. And a lot of tenants take advantage of that. And that does help them get in the property too. I'll be like, yeah, it's $10.75, but if you pay early, it's only $10.50. It's like, all right, sweet. And, kind of make it a win-win.
That is super interesting. I've actually never heard that before. So how does that benefit you? Like, do you really want it that early? Like, do you care? Or is it just to like give you peace of mind?
Yeah, peace of mind. It's the anxiety of, are they going to pay? Are they going to pay? Because in Memphis, they get a grace period. They have, if rent's due the 1st, they have until the 5th to pay, and it's considered on time. And then after the 5th, then late fees are imposed. So if I don't know the tenant very well, if we don't communicate all the time, and it's like getting the 4th and 5th and I haven't heard from them, I'm starting to freak out. And $25, if they pay before the 1st, is like, I'll pay that all day long, to not have to worry for that week. Are they going to pay me or not?
For sure. So just a quick brief recap of that property, right? So you bought it for $92,500. You put about $2,000 into it or so. So you're about $95,000 or so all in. Initially. Mortgage payment is $620. You're getting $1,075 for it, or $1,020, $1,075?
$1,075.
Yeah, $1,075 for it. So you're cash flowing like little, like, probably $200-$300 a month after reserves and all that kind of stuff. And so that's like a really good, that's a great first property in that market, right? That's a great return on investment. And so what happens after that first one?
Well, even with this first one, it's going to be for rent for $1,400. So if you take out, fixed costs, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, no property management, and there's no HOA, we'll cash flow like $780. Wow. So to me, that's the power of investing in a B-class neighborhood. You'll get appreciation, rents go up, and all that. Yeah. But since then, we have bought, we kind of buy a property every year. I think 2018, we bought 2, but we didn't get anything last year because I wanted to buy it was a long story. I wanted to buy a lake house, Airbnb, and it was going to be like our second home, and it was going to be like $700,000. So, and again, we don't like PMI, so we were going to put 20% down. So that was a lot of savings to save up for that. So we didn't end up getting one. And then the year before was COVID and the election. And I said, I'm not buying anything in 2020.
Yeah, no sweat. What is your first house worth today?
Probably
roughly
get 2 for it.
Wow. So almost triple, or 2.5, I guess. That's insane. Yeah. Okay. And so you keep saying you don't like PMI. I love PMI. So we have to chat about this. Why don't you like PMI?
Really it's for only owner occupieds anyway, but I just don't like paying extra if I have the money. Now, if I don't have the money, then yes. And like, I coach people on buying rental, like their first property, and those people that are house hacking or they're buying a, short-term rental and they're tight on cash, then something's better than nothing. Like, don't wait 2 more years to save up just to save an extra $100 a month. That's not smart in my opinion. Everyone's got their own opinion, but if you have the money, then I would not do PMI and I would just put the 20% down.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So I think you kind of get my perspective where it's really just like, I would rather, in Denver, the numbers are inflated, right? So, 20 or 30 grand will get you a 3 to 5% down payment here. And if you want to do 20% down, you're talking 100 grand. And it's going to take someone maybe a year or 2 to save that first 20 or 30. And then 4 or 5 years to save up the next 80? Like, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars you're losing in appreciation because you want to save $100 a month, right? You're tripping over, tripping over dollars to pick up pennies. But Yeah, and I guess again, it all comes down to risk too, right? And it all depends on like, the most efficient way would be to put the least amount down to get the highest return. That's the most efficient way to use your money. But some people don't care about the efficiency, or that's not their number one value. Sometimes it's they want just like low risk. They want to just have the most cash flow on one property, so they have less properties to worry about, right? And so it all depends on your goals.
My husband and I, we have different opinions on, strategies and goals. And especially because, I'm more in this world than he is. I mean, I'm the one with the Instagram. I'm the one with the coaching clients. Like I'm the one that's, goes to the investor group meetings and he just does his job and fixes things I tell him to fix. We have a little bit different risk levels and I'm willing to risk a bit more than him. But since it's both of us, it's like, okay, it's like I say, let's refinance all of our houses into a portfolio loan. And we could buy several more. And he's saying, no, I want to pay them off. I want to pay off these and then we can do more, because that way he doesn't have to work. I mean, he doesn't have to work now if he doesn't want to, but he really wouldn't have to work if we just paid these off that we have. And so he's like, I want to pay him off. And I'm like, I don't. Like, now some of them have low balances, like 40, 50,000. Like that would be pretty easy to pay one off. And in essence, it's like getting another, set of cash flow. If we're paying the bank $350 a month in interest and principal, but we paid that $40,000 off, well, that's just the same as putting another down payment and getting that as cash flow. The only thing we'd be missing is appreciation from having another asset.
100%.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of having less places. Craig, I don't know how many places you have now, probably too many, but there are definitely people out there that are like, I want 100 doors. I have never wanted 100 doors. That's just like a bunch of pain, right? It's just like so many things that it could go wrong in all of these places. So when I got started, I was really thinking like, hey, can I have 10 places but have them totally paid off? I have since gone over to the side of appreciating leverage more, but I'm still in that space of like, can I have 10 or so places? But each time that I want something more, I'm just leveling up. So I'm trading that cheaper house for something bigger and nicer, but just keeping a small portfolio. So we all have different strategies. And I think it's just important to kind of like talk to different people and find out what's good for you.
I agree. I feel like I hear everyone, there's all these unicorn stories out there. Everyone's like, look at me, I did this and I'm 5 years old, and all those things. And, you look at those inspirational stories and you're like, well, I want to do that. I want to do that. But sometimes you don't realize the risk involved. You don't realize the work level involved. You don't realize, how much effort it's going to take long term to sustain that or keep doing that. And there's not one strategy that's like the best. I talk to so many people that, or what's the best way? What's the best way? What's the fastest way? What's the this way? And it's like, well, let's find out what's best for you, because what's good for Joe is not good for Jane. It's like, what are your goals in life and how much money do you have? And, all the things. Like, it just makes me so sad when everyone's stories are so great, but that doesn't mean that they're the best. That's all.
Yeah, totally. Well, let's move into your next deal. So when you kind of got this one rolling, it sounds like you waited a year. But did you feel like you had confidence, or that the second home was kind of as hard as the first?
So it was pretty easy. And, back then, which wasn't that back ago, but 2016, 17, 18, it was still kind of a little buyer's market. Like you could get deals. You could ask for, offer less than asking. So it really didn't take us too many offers. I mean, we would probably get, I don't remember how many offers we made, but it wasn't like we were out there being discouraged because we made so many offers and never got anything. We got what we wanted. And I knew my market inside and out. I already knew, I knew plenty of markets in Southern California. I knew how to do the research on that already. So this was just about making sure, I meet my criteria, that I have a low crime rate. My school ratings are high. Cash flow is good. It's mostly an owner owned neighborhood, and all the things that I wanted for long-term success. There's a lot of neighborhoods that are good for short-term, good for cash flow today, but the neighborhoods are going downhill and they are not going to net you what you think, or they're not going to appreciate what you want 5-10 years down the road. So I really wanted to make sure I was buying in high quality neighborhoods. And so once I got to know those, it was pretty easy. And I could, I bought on the MLS, and I still do. And I could just open up my realtor.com app, and I would just by scrolling, know exactly how much each house was worth and what it would rent for. And I feel like that's what you got to know to make quick decisions and get what you want. You have to know what you're getting and why.
Yeah, I really love that you're saying that because it's just showing that power of focus. So I talk to a lot of investors all over the country, and they get just distracted. They're looking in 9 markets and they're trying to figure out which one's best. And I think that if you don't know the market and you're not watching one, you're going to miss them. And I see deals on the MLS all the time. I also buy off the MLS. And yeah, I still think there's opportunity even today in this crazy market. So I just think people need to learn to focus, and then you'll be able to recognize your unicorns.
Sorry, I'll add something to that too, is like you'll find deals on the MLS, and if you're just looking at it with a one-track mind of can this thing rent out as a single family house and is the rent going to cover the mortgage, et cetera, like you may not find a deal in your market, but like, can you be creative, right? Can you rent by the room? Can you Airbnb a portion of it? Can you do medium-term rentals? Like, what's a way that you can get creative to make it work in your market? Because there's so many strategies out there. Just pick what works.
Oh, Craigie,
I totally agree.
Plug in our strategy. Love it.
You got you. I got you.
We're
Z.
all in those medium-term rentals, Casey. That's what's up.
Honestly, this house we're in contract with right now, and we close on in a couple weeks. I had thought, okay, we can do midterm rental. We can do short-term rentals are allowed, but I mean, that sounds like my nightmare, to be honest. Like I already talked to my tenants enough. Like imagine if I had a new one every week, I would die. Like, no, thank you. So, but midterm rental, I was like, we could totally turn this house and make a couple grand a month. There's plenty of those extended stays and stuff around. So that the market is there, especially in Memphis with all there's a lot of hospitals, traveling nurses. We haven't ruled it out. Matter of fact, I even signed up for AirDNA and paid for the trial, not the trial, just paid for the subscription for that zip code just to see, what the market was doing, to keep an eye on that, so that once this house closes and we fix it up, once it closes, we have to decide our strategy. Because that will depend on how we fix it up. Is this going to be a long-term rental, or are we fully renovating it as if it were like top ARV to get a great short / midterm rental out of it?
Yeah, why don't we get a little, let's dive semi deep into like a 5-foot pool here, into your deal before we head into the final 4, because we did some in the beginning with like how you got started, but I think it's really interesting to see what you're doing now, because that's more relevant to today, obviously. And so, okay, you're under contract with this house. Like, tell us a little bit about it. What's the price of it and all that good stuff?
So it's a 3-bedroom and it is in East Memphis. Matter of fact, very first house that we just talked about, it's literally the street behind it.
Okay,
the
nice.
backyards almost line up to each other. Real close. And it's 175. But an old lady lived there, and she's lived there forever. And it's got green carpet. It's got original everything. So but it's 175, and we'd probably get around 1,400 enough for it.
Wow. Okay. So you're almost hitting the 1% rule, which is almost impossible to hit these days. And so so it would work immediately, right? So that's great. It sounds like you're going to do a rehab though. Do you have an estimate as to how much it's going to cost to do that rehab?
Not offhand. We kind of look at houses and know how much it's going to cost, because the houses that we buy are all the same. They're all 3-bedroom, 1 bath, maybe 1.5, and they're all under 1,400 square feet. Like it's a real specific type of house that we buy. Brick home, single story, not on a major street, no big trees hanging over. Learned our lesson with that one. And and so we buy real specific properties. So we know that if we want to fix this thing up just for rent, so in that neighborhood, we would likely put in a granite countertops. Other neighborhoods, we wouldn't. We would do like the granite look with Formica, But we know that this one would probably cost, because we do it all ourselves, and we're going to refinish. There's hardwoods under the green carpet. Woohoo!
That's
So,
nice.
And the landscaping, the thing why I thought midterm is because the backyards in Memphis don't exist. Like they're there, but they're nasty. Okay. It's like no one wants to go outside in the summer because it's buggy and just everyone lets the weeds grow. But this backyard, this old lady loved her house. Okay. This is like Pinterest backyard. It'll be perfect for pictures for like an Airbnb. So that's what got me thinking about it, is landscaping. So many, there's landscape lighting and sprinklers. No one has sprinklers out here unless your house is $1 million because it rains so much. So this lady really worked hard with her property. But so it depends. Like if we do just a regular long-term rental fix on it, we could probably get away with like $6,000 or $7,000. And most of that would probably be spent in the kitchen and the bathroom. And then if we did a real nice, took out all the cabinets and put new ones in and did granite and soft closed doors and redid the whole bathroom with new bathtub instead of just refinishing it and doing tile instead of surround, probably be closer to probably 15 for us to do that. So it just depends on what we're wanting to do with the property. Plus, I'd consider it if the market is still going up, if we rehab it all the way to the best potential, we could do a cash out refinance, which I'm trying to kind of push him to do, like Blake, to be like, okay, we can do these things. Like, I know how to do it. It's just, he doesn't want to take all the risk, but we could cash out refinance and get a lot of our money back once his house was renovated. Because like I said, my first property literally behind it would probably sell for $225. And if we fix this one up, it would probably be $250. So, there's a lot of options there.
Okay, Casey. So what it sounds like is that you have a lot of options with this house, which I think is my number one criteria when I buy rental properties, is that you need to have like multiple exit strategies. So you can do nothing and rent it. It will cash flow. You can fix it up a little bit. It will cash flow probably a little bit more. Or you can dress it to the nines and do a true burr cash out refi and maybe buy the property next door, which may actually be your backyard or whatever. And so there's lots, and then not to mention you could do Airbnb, your medium-term rentals. And so there's 5 or 6 different things that you can do with this property. So no matter what happens with the economy or the interest rates or whatever, this seems like a great buy for you. So congrats on being under contract, and we'll look forward to hearing about it on your Instagram.
Yes, you will. I'm real excited about it.
Awesome. Z,
I want to hear a little bit, just an overview of your portfolio, because we didn't have a lot of time to go into too many of your deals. So how many do you have and what has kind of been working for you?
So once this one closes, we'll have 7 properties. So that includes my primary. And that's not a lot. And I don't always say that out loud, all the time, because, on Instagram, everyone's like, I've got 1,000 doors. And it's like, you feel so insignificant, when it's not a zillion properties that you have. But I'm not about the quantity. For me, it is quality. And I want properties that are going to cash flow high in appreciating neighborhoods with A quality tenants. And those cost more. And I want to put 20% down. And like I said, my husband doesn't want to cash out refinance all of them. We totally them all off tomorrow if we wanted to as well. But, we just like getting single families that are in good neighborhoods that cash flow high. And all of our properties at least cash flow $450 a month after fixed expenses, and they go all the way up to almost $900. So I'm
Is
happy
that what
with
you target?
To me, it's great.
Is that what you target?
Quality over quantity.
Do you target $450 a month? Is that I was going to ask you that.
So my minimum is $300. That's what I teach, but mine have always been over $450. I'd be fine with something in the threes, but.
I know, that's so funny. It's like teaching people to take what they can get. And then you're like, but I know how to fish. I'm going to find my own stuff. Great. So what would you say is your cash flow now? What kind of are you averaging?
For all of them?
Yeah.
So we bring in about 45 a year with all the loans we have on the properties. So once those are paid off,
that's
it
great.
will almost double.
Yeah, I mean that's a full-time job for most people, right? So not for most people, but for some people. So yeah, that's great, right? And that's financial independence right there.
And I manage them myself, and I really hardly spend any time managing them. Once in a while, you get the trouble tenant or whatever, but it's to make that much money a year and not have to really work for it. That's freaking cool. And the fact that these are so close to paid off, if I wanted to, I mean, we could pay them off if we wanted. But we don't. We want to move and buy a better house for ourselves and buy more real estate, but we totally could pay them off. So it's that's always a choice that's there. But, the goal has always been, and my husband always reminds me of this, Casey, our original goal was only to buy 10 houses and make $100,000 a year. That was it. So your goals change over time. And when your initial goal is something and then you're close to meeting it, you're like, oh yeah, well, we kind of have that. or can have that so easily, then your goals go up. So one thing that I think is I struggle with as well is never being satisfied. Like, you ever going to be happy with what you got? Are you ever going to be satisfied with your goals? I mean, my sister, she makes a lot of money, and she doesn't do real estate, but it's like she's always wanting the next best bigger thing. And it's like, she's much younger and much wealthier than I am, but it's like, I see her wealth and I'm just like, are you ever going to be happy? Like, is there such thing as too much money, or is it internal, the happiness? So I don't want to keep chasing it forever, and I don't always want to leverage forever. I want to be satisfied at some point.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting point, and I love bringing it up because I think so many people have different answers of when is enough enough. And I've talked to a lot of people who have a lot of money, and it's not really about the money, right? It's just about like the impact. It's about the fulfillment, and like it's kind of like they wake up, and if they have nothing to do, right? If it's just like sit at home and chop wood or throw some glitter on some glue or whatever, like that's just like not fulfilling to them. And what fulfills them is like growing the business, and a money is the byproduct, right? And so, and unfortunately, in most cases, money is like a scorecard, which I don't think is the healthiest way to think about it. But like Casey, I think you've got like a great point, right? Like, when is enough enough? And like, I know when I started out, I was like, yeah, 3,000 a month, that's all I need. And now like I hit that, and then my goals change, right? And it's like, I don't know, it's just fun.
Yeah.
But
and we're too old to give up, it's like we still have time to reach higher and make better goals, but Blake reminded me the other day, he's like, remember, Casey, 10 years ago, we're having the life we have now was the dream.
I think that's super powerful.
Where we're work optional, you have the pool, you are a stay-at-home mom, you do make income without working for it daily, by the hour. Remember that this was your dream.
I think that's so powerful to look back at that, at those times, and see like, hey, we are living the dream, and to kind of be in the present a little bit too, and be grateful. That's what gratitude is, right?
Yes, yeah. I'm all about all that stuff now.
Yeah.
Trying to be grateful, be grateful.
Yeah. Casey, we're about to head into our final four, but before you do you have any last bits of knowledge for everybody?
I would just say, since I'm all about real estate and it's been my passion since I was little, going to open houses and all those sorts of things is fun. I would just tell people to not give up, to always try hard, and that whatever you want your life to be can be there, and that the only thing holding you back is you. And no one can tell you no. No one can take away your dreams. No one can take away your grit and your grind and your desire. Only you can. So it's up to you to move forward and to not fail and not give up.
Love that. Love it.
The final four.
Yeah. Casey, so what are you reading right now?
So funny story. Well, it's not really funny, but I used to never read books. So after I graduated college, I was like, I'm not reading. And my friends would talk about, I read a couple of Stephen King's, but they'd be like, you're reading this book and that book. And I'm just like, I don't have time to read. When do you have time to read? So it wasn't really until the past couple of years when I started getting more into like self-development and the self-help. That sounds like a disease or something, that I started reading. I wanted to learn more. And so I'm listening to a lot of books. Since I have 3 kids, I don't ever have time to read in the daylight. So I have to lay in bed with my audiobook with my headphones on. Yeah, my kids still sleep in my room. So so right now I am actually reading with a Kindle, The Laws of Dynamic Prosperity by Catherine Ponder. I will say I don't read a lot of real estate books. Matter of fact, I've never read a real estate book. I did buy Brandon Turner's book, the the rental property book, his main one. I have it. I started reading it. And then, when you know everything that's you're reading, I'm just like, okay, well, I'll finish it later. So I haven't finished that. But I read a lot of spiritual books, and I'm reading the Laws of Dynamic Prosperity. And it talks a lot about law of attraction and about belief. And I mean, I'm not religious, but I love all this stuff. And I feel like, opening your eyes to the possibilities that you have within you is really empowering. And I know a lot of my friends, blame external circumstances on the way that their life is. And this book and other books teach you that it's not anybody but you. And I feel that's so empowering, because it reminds me that I do have the power to change my life and to make it whatever I want. It's all within me. And so that's one of the books that I'm reading right now.
Great.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's amazing. I think anything that can inspire you the way that it does, it's amazing. All right, Casey, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
So I thought about this, and I don't really, not that I don't listen to people, but I don't know. I'm kind of like when my husband talks, like, it's like, oh, what did you're saying something, you know? So he always reminds me I'm never listening to him. But this one thing did stick with me. And when we first started buying real estate, I had a mentor, and he was a local guy who owned over 20 properties, and I wanted to be like him. So he was, you know, some gazillionaire, but he was work optional. They sent their kids to very expensive private schools. And I called him up and asked him if he would help me because I did not want to chicken out. There's the word I was looking for. That wasn't a bad word earlier. I didn't want to chicken out and not in California, I'm making 40 offers, but never really pulling the trigger. So what he said to me one day when we were in contract and I was nickel and diming, it was for our second property, and I was nickel and diming the seller. He said, this is the best advice I've ever gotten. Just go for it. He says, don't let a couple $1,000 price difference get in the way of buying a cash flowing rental property, because those couple $1,000s are not going to matter in the long run. They won't even matter next year. You won't even remember that you paid an extra $2,000. Like, get over yourself, let the seller have his win, and buy the dang property. So that's how I look at life in general, not just buying real estate. It's like, just pay for it, you know.
Amen.
Get it.
That
Amen.
is very true.
Yeah. Can you like rewind that again and play that again? Because I just love that point so much. I say that all the time. It's like, don't worry about the small things. Like, buy real estate. It's going to appreciate your property. Your first property appreciated $150,000 in 5 years, and you were nickel and diming over $1,000. Like, that's literally less than 1% of what your wealth built. Not even including your tax benefits and your cash flow and all that, right? And so, just speaking from someone, from all of us here who have had rental properties for multiple years, you will not remember the $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 difference.
Nope.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to go. Okay.
No,
Go ahead.
I think
Sorry.
it's great.
I just love that point so
we
much.
talk
Yeah.
about this all the time with our clients. It's like, are you really going to lose that deal over $5,000? So yeah, I think it's great to just jump in, make it happen. So question number 3, what is your why? What keeps you going in this business?
So first of all, I just love houses. Houses, just even being in them is just a passion of mine. I love being in all houses. And so, you know, I've seen thousands probably. I don't know. Maybe that sounds like way too many, but I've never counted, but tons. I've been in tons of houses. So just, you know, knowing markets, and what I love is helping my students around the country buy in different markets. Like, it's so fun to learn new markets and be able to just go on the MLS, you know, on realtor.com and be like, that house is overpriced. Haha. That house is underpriced. That house would rent for this. Just the knowledge, just feeling successful in that I know something. That's what I love about real estate. But why this? Why do I love it? Why am I doing this for? Yeah, because it's fun, but also because the power of passive income with long-term rentals is just undeniable. It's the safest, most secure way to build wealth, to be a millionaire, you know, without high risk. I mean, come on, buying land, American land, it's going to go down in a crash for like a few years and be right back up. And as long as you're cash flowing, it doesn't matter if it went down in the first place. So you're going to get appreciation. You're going to get tax benefits. You're going to get income that you can use now. So many people invest, you know, they put money in their 401ks and their IRAs, which we do that too, but you're saving that for later. Like, you don't get to use that right now. You don't get to use your savings. You're not benefiting from your 401k right now. But guess what I'm benefiting from? The cash flow that my tenant gave me. Because now I make money every month, like income, like I would work at Starbucks or something, but I don't have to work for it. Plus, I'm getting appreciation. So my net worth is growing while I'm sleeping. And like I said, we're very risk adverse. Am I going to go do NFTs? I don't even really know what that is. So like those sorts of things like kind of scare me, again, because it's the unknown and you're always scared of what you don't know. I understand that. But I know real estate. It's been in my blood forever. I just love it. And it's just so safe. It's so safe and comforting to know that you're paying for something that other people are enjoying, that you're making other lives better. and your life is immediately better in the form of cash flow and will be better, even better later on when you sell them off.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, Casey, last question. If you had to start a secret society, what would it be?
Oh, if I had to start a secret society, what would it be about? Well, it would probably be conspiracy theory society.
What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Oh, that we did not land on the moon.
We did not land on the moon. I've heard of that one. I watched this show one time with conspiracy theories, and that was literally the one episode that I watched was the not landing on the moon. It's interesting. It's an interesting take for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that I'm really into, but my father-in-law got us started down that track.
Yeah, love it. Love it. All right, Casey, where can people find out more about you? I know you've got a popular Instagram, and where else?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. It's at Brick by Brick Wealth, and I also have a website, brickbybrickwealth.com. I'm also on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel, but I don't think I've published anything in the past 2 years there. But I'm gonna do that again soon. And I also have a Facebook group, Create Passive Income with Rental Properties. It's free, and it's for anyone that wants to get free advice on investing in your first rental property.
Awesome. I love it so much. Definitely give Casey a follow at Brick by Brick Wealth on IG and all of our other stations. And Casey, thank you so much for coming on. It was so amazing to hear about your story. And yeah, let's to the moon.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be the first ones to land on the moon, right?
Yep.
Love it.
And that was Casey Franchini. Z, what'd you think of Casey?
I thought it was a great show. She is so peppy and excited, and it just sounds like she's so encouraging for her clients that are learning how to get into real estate investing. And it sounds like she has a really great formula. We didn't get to go into it too much, but I really like when I hear that investors are like, this is the square footage, this is the neighborhood, this is the very specific way that I invest, so that as soon as something like that matches that profile comes up, you're like, yes, that's mine. And I think that's just a great way to focus.
Yeah, I love it. I love that aspect. I love that she's super resilient. I love that her and her husband seem to have a little bit of a different perspective, so they can kind of help balance each other out. I think that's super valuable in a partner. We didn't talk about that too much, but I can tell that they have a really strong relationship because of that difference and of that balance. And I think she's got her eyes set on a goal. She's going to very much hit that goal, and she's like perfectly content with not exceeding it to the maxes. And she wants to really live her life, and rather than just like work to become the next billionaire or whatever it is. So I just think a super inspiring story. And I think if there was a world full of Caseys, it would be a very nice world.
Yes. I love how she keeps it simple. I am leaning that direction myself. So yeah, more power to her.
Yeah. So guys, if you like this episode, if you like our podcast, please leave us a rating and a review on iTunes. We super appreciate it. Shoot us a DM on Instagram. I'm at the Fi Guy. Z is Zeona McIntyre. And just, leave us some feedback. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to interact with everybody. So with that being said, we will see you all next week.
That's it for this episode of Investify. We hope that these nuggets of real estate wisdom lead to more savvy financial planning and a clearer path towards financial freedom. For more content like this, subscribe to the show at investify.com. Don't forget to leave a rating and share it with your friends. Together, we can transform more real estate newbies into successful and clever investors. Thank you so much for listening. See you on the next one.